Hello, folks. Just found this thing literally bloomed overnight. But I'm just doing maintenance on the 5-acre property. Got the firewood going. Outhouse, always good to have. And my new tool shed that I'm working on. And that is a old misery whip. Google that. But yeah, I quit logging. This was my tool belt. Wedges, there's a file inside, and tape measure. But now, everything's coming into bloom. But I'm starting a new, this is the new water system. But I'm basically, today, smoking cheese. And trying to keep it sealed. That's important. Oh, that smells good. So basically, this type of barbecue, I keep the fire small. I started it with about 4 briquettes, got them lit. Then I'm adding maple, just maple. And I'm using my logger's axe for splitting these into small pieces. And my logger's axe I actually mainly use to pound wedges to make a tree go over. But it's a perfect camp axe. So I can see the coals are going good because I have smoke, but you don't want the air to get to it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some greenish. These are about 4 months cured maple chunks, and I'll keep adding to the coal bed and smother it and cover it. And this is cheese that I have, bricks of cheese on ice, which I'm gonna have to replace. But what you do is you fill up a tray. You can use anything, but fill up a tray full of ice, then put that tray on top of that tray, and flip. You can use anything or your hands. Flip the brick of cheese. Just like that. Then cover it. And there you go. Basically, it'll keep the cheese cool enough to where it doesn't melt or change shape or form. And at the same time, the smoke from here is going through that chamber into here, which I've got 2 bratwurst smoking at the same time. And I have a thermometer, just because it's in there. But yeah, that is how you smoke cheese. And because this thing is old and a little bit warped, I'm using some weights to help keep it sealed. There. But basically it takes about close to 30 hours, 40, but a day or two. And make sure the temperature doesn't get too hot, because if it does, then the cheese will melt. That's still okay, but that's why I put it in a non-stick bread pan or oiled bread pan, because if it does melt, then okay, at least you can still use it. But maple, it's not my favorite, but it's what I have that grows around here. And mesquite or hardwoods are preferred. I tried apple, too acidic. So in a way, I like alder and maple because it's not so acidic to where it kind of taints the flavor. But yeah, I'm working on the homestead. I'm growing trees. This is actually a plum tree I'm growing, and this plum tree actually is a branch that I didn't cut off. I cut the root off. This should be another video, but I cut the root off, or cut the bark around the branch, and well, I picked a branch that looked like a good shape for a tree, to make a tree, and I cut the bark off about 2 inches wide to where I got the bare stem. And then I wrapped it in moss from the forest floor, and even grass. You can take grass like that and wrap that around a branch like that, and then wrap it in saran wrap, and then duct tape it, or electrical tape, wrap it shut, and walk away. And there, the moisture will force roots to grow. And for example, you'll be able to see it here. This thing is actually growing roots. Right there, roots. So anyways, what I did was I wire tied it to the bottom of the pot, bonsai style. So now I took a fruit tree and I'm growing another miniature fruit tree, which when the roots get strong enough, I'm going to plant it in the ground in a chosen location, and it'll create a big fruit tree. It'll take off. And because I have elk around here, I'm having to build a new fence for the garden to keep the elk out. You can see all that field. The elk they love it here because of the grass. They feed like cattle, and so you have to build a fence for your garden. There's no other way of keeping them out, and is what is. But there's a gate big enough the wheelbarrow can fit in, but it doesn't have to be very expensive. This is actually used spare lumber that I grabbed, and yeah, just add a couple different boards to strengthen it, like these side boards, and there you go. everything's in bloom. The apple trees, which you can see here. Hard to keep up with the pruning. This is a fruit tree. The old cabin built in 1886. Same with the barn. That's a cherry tree. Got too big, taken over, chopped it back. It'll actually keep growing. And the old tractor, that's a part of a swamp, which I'm filling in with debris, and that actually might make a garden. But if you have a chunk of land and strategically with old school knowledge, you can make a great homestead out of nothing, and it works. So if you keep doing that, you can do well. This is the workshop that I've turned into it's almost like a house, but everything's working out just by following the old school methods. Turn the cheese over. Make sure the smoke gets to every bit. Better than caviar. But yeah, and these are fruit trees I planted when I was a kid. I bought the property from my family. And here I have, while I'm getting the garden prepared, I have all my tomato plants and jalapeno plants all ready to go. And by the time those are ready to put in the ground, I'm going to have this tilled up. This ground has about a foot and a half of sawdust from logging. A variety of trees, branches, this and that. And it's all mulched up in this ground. So all I have to do is till it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of elk poop compost on top. Water it, rake it flat, and then put the plants in when they're ready. But this is a southern exposure. Those are the Olympic Mountains, which you can't see the snow tops because the clouds. But I'm kind of at a perfect scenario for growing a garden right here. But basically, homestead techniques and tips and common sense. I'm getting this place to go very well. I can cook with cast iron. I got a wood stove, got firewood, garden. I'm gonna buy a elk hunting tag again. I haven't hunted elk in years, but I'm gonna do it again. And elk season, they walk right in front of my yard, legal. All right, fill my freezer. Typically, I'm against that, but what's going on today and the population elk expanding huge, I think I'm gonna take one, and legally. So yeah, Kirk out.